Hey, this is Adam with Tied to Nature. Another update for you coming from this week. This is week March 6th, ending in March 6th. So that leaves us just about a week left, just over a week left. Not this coming Monday, but a week from Monday will be our last day for the interior trips into Yellowstone. And I guess this is coming a little late now. I get requests quite often about doing tours in the wintertime. And I personally I I give tours for a different company in the wintertime. I work for Yellowstone Vacations. And if you're looking to get a tour in the wintertime through me, they're the ones to go through. So they have the operating permits for winter in Yellowstone for snow coaches. They're one of a few companies, but that's who I'm with in the wintertime. So kind of an overview of the week as far as wildlife sightings and things going on. As you can see in the picture, foxes, which I'll talk about. So foxes, coyote, bison, another long-tailed weasel, bald eagle, and I think with bobcats, I think this time of year it's winding down. Usually, once it gets March, I don't know of anybody that's seeing bobcats. The wolves are back. They came down this last week, and the 2 days that they decided to visit, I was off both days. So there's some guides out there. They have some great photos. A friend of mine, Jesse, sent me one today of the alpha female. And so they're kind of in the geyser basin area, which is great that they're around. I don't work tomorrow, which is Sunday. And then Monday, I think I'm doing a canyon trip. So it's going to be tough to try to find them. I'm hoping they're sticking around for me, but I'm just glad that they're back down and knowing that they're in the interior and there's a chance to see them is it's exciting. So let's get into this. So let's start with this fox. This is a very regular fox for us this year out at Fountain Flats. It's probably been our most consistent fox, and it's nice to have something, kind of add to the list because right now I'm telling people waterfowl, coyotes, bison, bald eagles are the wildlife they're looking for on a regular basis. And so this fox kind of gave me something else. Says, hey, we're gonna look for a fox through here. A couple years ago we could talk about the elk and see an elk, but just not the case right now in the interior of Yellowstone. But that could be different next year. So having this fox there was nice, and saw a couple others that I'll mention. But coyote, I've seen quite a few coyotes, and it's one of those you get on a regular basis. What was nice about this one, it was in the Old Faithful area, and so it was in the geyser basins, and you do get them, but you don't get to see the coyotes as often in the thermal areas with the steam and coming through. So that was nice. You get to see bison and things that way a lot in the area. So having the coyote in this area was nice. And then the other nice thing about this is you always get people that are some type of photographer. When you're in an area like Yellowstone, everybody becomes a photographer. And so whether it's a cell phone or a camera they haven't picked up for years, or maybe they have used the camera a lot and they're just excited to get out and use it and see some wildlife. And with the coyote, as it was coming, I said, "You guys, what you want to do is watch. It's gonna walk by the puddle, and you're gonna get a reflection." And so when it did that, that was, I think, exciting for people then to be able to get that picture and be able to point that out to them. Bison is another one of those that we get to see a lot, and it's awesome to see. In this case, they're on the road. We drove by and went down a little ways, and then stopped and said, "Hey, let's get out." They're walking towards us, so before they're 25 yards, we're going to be back in on the road, so we're not disrupting their movement. But that way, you can see them rather than the back ends as you drive through them. But this is nice. You get a male, a bull, it's a young bull, and a cow right here. Smaller horns at the base. Compare that to the eye, curved horns. This male, bigger horns. Compared to that to the eye, it's bigger, and then this sticks up more like a goalpost. So, a good way with male and female there. The other things you want to look for, the big bulls, the big mature ones, much bigger head than even this guy here. Usually bigger beard, just a broader, bigger animal. So I have a few different birds today. I think I go with a bird and see a couple things and get back to some birds to kind of a few of them in a row. But this is at Fountain Paint Pots, and usually on that trail, I don't bring my camera around with me. Uh, I knew that the chickadees, the mountain chickadees in this case, you can see this white stripes on its head. We're in that area, and every year we'll see them in that area, and it's because of this here. There's no snow. There's no snow on the ground. It's I think it found a seed here, and so just like the bison or any other animal that would be in these areas, feeding because of the lack of snow, it just makes it easier. You don't have to work as much, and so we get these chickadees here. I didn't see any nuthatches this year. I think a few others. I think I've heard some, but didn't specifically see them feeding in the mosses around. In this case, this is right on the edge of the paint pots itself. So you have this acidic feature, and then you got this bird eating in the green out here in the middle of winter. It's all kind of funny and unique, isn't it? A long-tailed weasel. So I had one lady in particular that one day that really wanted to see a weasel. I think a guide the day before I talked to her about these weasels. So I talked more about them, and I pointed out the tracks that melted out, but there was a lot of them. It's hard to tell if they were old or new or not. So I did my best to find one for her with no luck. Then the next day I had a group, a lot of tracks again, following them, watching closely, and all of a sudden there it is. There's the weasel. And this was nice because it was not close to the road, run back and forth along the road. And we followed it for maybe a half mile, maybe more, as it would stop, and I'd get some pictures, and a couple people would get pictures. And then at one point I said, okay, we'll keep moving on and move on. And we caught up to it again. And all of a sudden there it's right next to the road. So we followed it again for a minute. Just fun. And one of the things like with this one uh, that I kept following it for, and I was talking about the behavior because it looked like it was sniffing around. I don't know a lot of the behavior on the long-tailed weasel, but it looked like it was sniffing in different areas. And so I thought, hey guys, it could be hunting. So let's watch, see if it goes and finds something for us. With no luck, but just be able to see it and watch it for a while was really neat. And the profile in this and that long tail it's sticking out, it was nice. So long-tailed weasel. Bald eagle. Again, this is a very cooperative bald eagle that I've shared pictures with before. Right in the mud volcano area, kind of over, I guess, closer to Sulphur Cauldron. And it just has this perch that hangs out in. And this is probably one of the two or three reasons that I try to get out to Mud Volcano on all of my canyon Hayden Valley tours is to be able to see if this eagle's out, because this is one of the best views that people will ever get of a bald eagle. It's very close to us. Snowmobiles are going by, coaches are backing up people out of the car, might be 10, 15 people, and bald eagle just for the most part doesn't care. And so it's an awesome opportunity to get an up close look at a bald eagle. So I've shared a picture probably of this same killdeer before. This is so a few of these birds. Let me explain. So if you've been to the mud volcano area, you have Dragon's Mouth, you have the mud volcano, and there's a circle boardwalk kind of there. And in the middle of that, you have all of this bubbling water. You have grasses, the mud, all kinds of things going on. And these birds are hanging out in the middle of it. And I think I mentioned this before, and I mentioned this to everybody on all these tours as we're walking around. I tell them specifically, when it comes to the geology, I'm not the best. I have a lot to learn. I've learned a lot, but I have a lot more to learn. I tell them half the things out there, half the things that live out there, the organisms, things, I can't pronounce them. But what I find absolutely fascinating is that you have this area for us is death. You have high temperatures, you have acidity, you might have mercury or arsenic or whatever it is in these areas. And yet there's life that thrives there, whether it's the killdeer, the grass, the actual bacteria, the flowers that are there in the summertime. It's amazing that they've adapted for these and found a way to live. It's open, and just like I mentioned with the chickadee, it's availability of food. Junko, the same thing. The Junko is a ground feeder, And when you have a big layer of snow, it makes it a little harder to feed off the ground. They also lay their nests on, or lay their eggs, so they build nests on the ground. And so, same thing, this Junko's taking advantage of an area that's open, that doesn't have the snow, and is looking for food. Another red fox. I have a couple more birds I'm going to get to. This red fox, this was nice because we rolled up and there's this fox laying 35, 40 yards off the road, just kind of sprawled out. And actually, I missed it at first. This is one of those that somebody shouted out because I'm looking off to the left, pointing out the steam areas, the steam clouds that are coming up from like Steamboat Geyser and the North Geyser Basin, and completely missed this fox on the right hand side laying down. And we watched it for a minute. I was thinking it might spook, it might, and it didn't really spook, but once we got out, it got up and was like, I'm out of here. And so that's why I posted this shot. This one didn't want to hang around for us, so it was on the way out. And the same day we saw another fox. It was a great distance over in Hayden Valley. Just it was nice to have a day, and we get a little bit more variety of species and seeing the fox. And it was nice because the first thing that was shouted out was coyote, and there was some discussion. Was it coyote, a fox? And I'm backing up trying to get a look of where exactly it was and look at it. Yeah, it's a fox. And when you get these different colors, it confuses people. How come it's not all red, or they're used to a gray fox? And foxes, you get these different colors. They're known as cross foxes, where they could be a red to black to gray to almost, a very light color. And so, this is a red fox here. Clark's Nutcracker. Um, the last couple times that we were here, stopped at Mud Volcano and we have lunch. And as I'm done with my lunch, I get out of the car and I'll kind of walk around with my camera, and that's where I got most of these birds this time. And as other people got out, I decided today to go ahead and carry my camera around the geyser basin, because Clark's Nutcrackers have been hanging out. So I mentioned the rest of those were kind of on the inside, and I'm going to show another one in just a minute, which is on the inside. But this was just on the outside of the Mud Volcano area, and couple Clark's Nutcrackers. And one of the things I talk about with these birds is, to everybody, I'm a bird nerd. I like the birds. And some people find it fascinating. Some are like, yeah, it's a pretty bird. Right. They can have, if I remember right, it's up to like 50,000 different caches. They can cache a lot of nuts. And so that's good for the white bark pine tree because that helps them regenerate. That's good for the grizzly bears because then grizzly bears, which are not great at climbing trees or don't climb trees, they can find these caches on the ground, which this nut provides a high protein diet for them. And so this one was digging around in the dirt. You can see that nice dirt on its beak there. And so I don't know if it was looking for nuts or what it was doing. But at the same time, I think there was a little bit of courting going on because this guy was showing off, picked up a stick, grabbed a stick, was throwing it around, kind of do some neat little vocalizations. I think there's a little courting going on there too. Stellar's Jay. I said just a second ago that, people are like, oh, that's neat, whatever, the birds. And then you see the Stellar's Jay, and it's like, hey, look at that blue bird. That's a neat one. And this one I tell everybody, take a look at. It's kind of like the blue jay, just because a lot of people, especially from the east, they're not familiar with the Stellar's Jay, which seems to be a bird, not a tree. Anyways, it's more of conifer forest, seems to be a little higher elevations. I don't know about higher elevations, but more of the forest bird. And, so very similar as far as it has the crown, has that blue, but at the same time, very different than the blue jay. And so kind of connects people with it. And, something like this, it's a little bit more colorful and they're a little more fascinated by. And this was really neat because as we're ending that boardwalk, this um, bird flies right up, and I probably got the worst picture of anybody. I was in a bad spot, and everybody was right. I mean, they're on the boardwalk. This tree is right here. This right here is kind of on the backside, but then it moves through the tree and comes right in front of them. And this beautiful tree with this bright blue bird in the middle of it, and that was kind of exciting. It's one of those that everybody's a photographer. And I love that people enjoy getting their own pictures, even if it's with a smartphone. And to kind of close this up, um, this was a great experience. One of, I think, the coolest experiences I've had at Old Faithful in the wintertime. And that's not only because they get to share it with other people, friends, different guides that were there, um, but everybody got to experience this cool moment when we're all waiting for Old Faithful to go off. And I think it was a little on the late side today on its timing. This herd of bison moves in, and most of them come behind us, and they're close. They're too close. And the ranger came over and talked to his guides and said, "You guys got this." And so we got it. There's two others that bison up the way, and so he went over to kind of watch that, and we had to move some people around. But most of the moving had to do when, because there's like 10 or so that were coming behind us and pretty close, and we kind of set a boundary and said, if it gets here, this is what we're doing. And then this one decided to come around the front of us. And this one, we said, okay, yeah, it's way too close, you guys. Everybody back up, get off the benches, back up. But White's out in front of us. Old Faithful starts going. And so it was nice because here you have this, you know, people are kind of getting impatient, waiting. And sometimes it's like, 10, 20 minutes. And, if it's on that late side, and when's it going to go? But here we had something entertaining happening. We had this bison that were coming through, and, people are just enjoying eating this up, to be so close to the bison and have Old Faithful going off at the same time. And for people to get a picture similar to this one. This one was just a cell phone picture that I snapped really quick. So nothing beautiful, but just a neat opportunity for so many people. So again, this is Adam with Tied to Nature. And this is for those that don't get out, can't get out, or can never get enough. Thanks for tuning in. And, before I wrap it up here, it's just one more week really that I have updates to do of me being in the interior of Yellowstone. And then things are going to change where a lot of the park won't be accessible until April 16th. And, I'm going to try to get up north or do something to share some updates still. But I have some neat stuff in the works that I will be sharing hopefully soon. But just keep an eye out. I'm excited for it. Uh, don't want to give too much away, but just watch for some opportunities some growth coming from Tied to Nature. So enjoy.